Hi there, welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. Hello, leader. Welcome back to the Fierce Factor podcast. It's your host, Kaylee here. Thanks for tuning in today to episode 145. Today, we're going to talk about a subject that I am, and perhaps you too, are intimately familiar with. And that subject is control. And truth be told, I have been called controlling. However, I don't think of myself that way. This state of mind has been one of the biggest struggles for me as a woman, as a business owner, as a mother. And as I happen to be recording this episode, I happen to be on the heels of something very emotional for me and my family, which has served to be a pungent reminder for me that I have much less control of situations than I would like to think. This week, I had to say goodbye to my two pugs, 15 and 16-year-old Max and Bubba. They were my first babies before kids. And I'll be honest, I really thought that as time went on, I would be more accepting of the fact of the reality that often we outlive our pets. But that just hasn't been the case. In fact, many of you who talk with me regularly or watch my videos, you've met Bubba, my little sidekick. He's usually recording these podcasts with me. He follows me around everywhere. And having a home office means he is a staple companion all day long. And as his health was beginning to decline, my husband Chad and I discussed planning a perfect date to put him down and send him to doggy heaven. But in the end, the timing chose us. Bubba's trachea collapsed, and we weren't confident he would even make it through the night on Monday. And we needed to put him down immediately. And in addition to that, our older dog was declining. He was just already sort of getting there. And we knew it was the right thing to do to protect his quality of life and to send Max and Bubba to heaven together. And despite our best laid plans to talk to our kids and perfectly time the experience to prepare them and minimize the disruption and grief, it all worked out as it was intended, which wasn't how I had planned. And of course, this is all still very raw for me. But as I process everything, I realize that the timing was never in my control. The way my kids grieve through this process is not in my control. And the way I respond emotionally is also a bit out of my control. And while I believe my addiction to control and power over situations is always well-intended, you know, when you go through situations like this, it's really a blunt reminder that control, it just isn't much more than an illusion. And I think when we care so deeply about something, when we offer up our soul to protect its livelihood, the urge to control is merely an attempt to protect. It's not a power play. It's more of a sacrifice. And if you're the type of person who likes to be in control, or maybe you're a perfectionist, your controlling tendencies aren't necessarily situational, right? You will do your best to predict outcomes and manage circumstances in your life and business universally. And in our business, we can be over-controlling and feel the need to micromanage things, and we'll do whatever it takes to sort of manage the outcomes of situations, even when it stresses us out or exhausts us. It's just what we do. And this week during our Academy Level 2 Mastermind call, our most advanced, our high growth business owners discussed one of the main challenges that's keeping them stuck as a community. And, you know, really not, growth-wise, they're crushing it, right? It's more to the sense of being stuck in the business, working as operators in the business instead of transitioning to becoming that CEO who has the open space and time to think, play, plan, visualize, and work on the business. And the thing that they really came up with was that it's really all about letting go of control, hence the inspiration for this podcast. And I talk a lot about scaling with sanity and intention. And more often than not, the barrier to achieving this utopia isn't a lack of strategy, but instead the ability to let the business take a breath and develop its own soul. And women tell me that they're micromanagers, and I celebrate that, right? And probably if you're one of them, you're like, what? No one's ever said micromanaging is a good thing. And it can and doesn't have to be. I get it. But number one, this is really the first step to overcoming it, just the admitting of the fact that we are micromanagers, right? And two, I celebrate this because when I hear this, I really read between the lines. And what I hear is that they uphold a dangerously high standard of excellence for the client experience, results, safety, and satisfaction. And that commitment to excellence is what has made them successful. Done, period, end of story. These level 2 owners are all positioned to earn anywhere from $3 to $12 million this year with multiple providers. And so they're really looking to remove themselves from the equation so they can experience imaginative, creative, visionary space to develop assets that generate legacy wealth. The only way to grow at this level, you guys, is to scale the standard of excellence. So the natural instinct is to lead by example, show up, correct imperfections, overstep, jump in, redirect, and when push comes to shove, just get it handled on their own. And so by doing this, what they're really saying is, if I could just control these people, I could guarantee the results. Sound familiar? Here's the thing. When they were a small mom and pop situation that worked, but over controlling your multi-million-dollar operation will in fact lead to burnout, overwhelm, and overall apathy about the business. In fact, women use words with me like, I'm missing the ambition, or I've lost my passion, or I can't find the space for creativity. And the only place to tap back into the joys of their business are by reverting back to their first love, treating patients. Do you see the conundrum here? It's this push and pull to get out of the treatment room, but also relish in the joy and fulfillment that they once had. This is where the identity shift comes in. This is your confidence to scale. Instead, what we see is the opposite of visionary leadership. Over-controlling leaders who are creating a low morale, poor communication, a lack of innovation, and a lack of risk aversion. But leadership, on the other hand, is based on setting clear objectives, delegating authority, relinquishing control, and trusting staff. Leaders know when to exercise control and when to pull it back. With too much control, nothing happens. People sit around waiting for the next order. While sitting idle, the downtime that goes with starting and stopping work mounts up. So paradoxically, it's only by relinquishing control that leaders can ever achieve the kind of control that is the mark of great leaders. Think of Jesus or Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr., who were all great leaders. They had control of virtually no one, yet their influence changed the course of history. And for aspiring leaders, there are a few strategies that we teach inside of our Pop Leadership Academy that help our clients stop focusing on control and instead figure out how to expand their influence. So today I want to share 5 strategies that can help you become a person of influence in your business and let go of constricting control once and for all. Strategy number 1 is to take accountability. There's always something you could be doing or you could have done to influence the outcome of a situation. I heard a recent complaint that an employee wasn't taking initiative. She was asked to complete a task, and instead of opening a line of communication or coming to her owner, who's our client, for support, she hit a roadblock and just let the project fester. I think it was something as simple as like ordering ice packs with logos. And our client asked her to do this and then had to follow up with her 3 days later, only to hear that there was a setback with the logo. So instead of looking for other companies or finding other solutions, she just stayed stagnant. Of course, it's natural to want to play the blame game, wonder why our employees aren't performing at their highest level or feel frustrated that things slip through the cracks. But an influential leader thinks through how they could have prepared the employee with the task, results, or skills to better accomplish the assignment. So in our academy, we teach how to use delegation filters to assign projects to employees with measurable goals, milestones, and checkpoints. So taking ownership from the beginning to the end, this will be liberating because there won't be any room for excuses in the end. At the end of the day, results always point back to your leadership. Strategy number 2 is to hold employees accountable. Talk about an overlooked ninja tactic. I mean, I get it. We want people to feel included, excited, empowered, engaged. We want our employees to love their job. So we let things slide. We make the assumption that employees want nothing but autonomy and having structure will suffocate them. And so we see a corner was cut or someone didn't go above and beyond to implement a new system or skill. And we tell ourselves, well, I'll just wait until that happens again. And then it does. And then we're too busy to have the conversation. Then it happens a third time and we just blow up. And as an owner, we've been stewing over this issue for weeks, maybe going home and complaining to our husband about it or with our girlfriend over a glass of wine or just letting it fester, right? Yet we bring it up as like we're exploding on this employee and this is the first time they're hearing about it. So do you see the disconnect here? Let's go back to the example of the ice packs. Let's say you asked them to order ice packs and an employee didn't follow through on an assigned task. What are you going to do about it? Do you just do it yourself since that will only take 3 minutes? Or are you going to spend 10 minutes or 20 minutes having a meaningful conversation with them, helping them understand how you would like things done going forward and why? This 10-minute investment might save you 30 or 60 or 90 minutes on repeat down the road, whereas the I'll just do it myself approach only takes you back to the self-employed to-do list hamster wheel you desperately crave release from. Strategy number 3 is to reorient around your bigger mission. Oftentimes people don't do what we want because we've not invested the time to paint the bigger picture for them. This is what leadership is all about, enrolling others into your vision, inspiring them to invest their personal time and energy into accomplishing your goals, but for their own reasons. Remember that everyone is motivated by different factors. In my experience, our people want to succeed. They want a challenge. They want to do something significant. They're eager to help. They want to be a part of something, but no one has given them a compelling vision of a new reality for themselves. And if you consider yourself a leader, this is your job. And if you don't have a clear mission declaration and vision to articulate to your team, that's a problem. And by the way, if you don't, you need to jump into my upcoming masterclass, which I'll talk about at the end of this episode on February 1st, and get that dialed in. Strategy number 4, appreciate the effort. I've told this story in the past about how my dad used to come to all of my soccer practices and evaluate my effort. After practice, he would recap with me whether I was the first in line for a drill, I led my team on runs, I was coachable and energetic. He believed that the way I showed up to practice, how I created the habit for excellence, would ultimately produce a result at game time. Effort was a catalyst for success. And my kids, who are 10 and 14, they bring home report cards that have a letter grade, so like A, B, C, or F. And they also have a citizenship and effort grade. So an N would be needs improvement, S is satisfactory, or E, excellent. In my opinion, while learning a new subject matter is important, the commitment to developing the habit of being excellent will take someone much further in life than someone who is just smart and lazy. So why would this tenet change in our business? If our employees are putting the effort into learning, growing, and expanding, why not recognize that? I believe at the end of the day, everyone is a volunteer in your business. Yes, even the people you employ. They have more options than you think. And if you don't appreciate them, someone else will. People want to give their best effort to those who notice, recognize, and appreciate them. And it's the small things that make the biggest difference. A handwritten note, a candle, a Starbucks gift card, even a simple thank you. Remember, effort is up to the employee, but results are up to us as a leader. So give your team the compass and tools and skills and accountability to succeed, and then the rest is up to them. And that is how you will be able to let go of control. And then finally, strategy number 5, increase your tolerance for failure. This one has probably been my most difficult to implement. And let me reassure you, it is a practice. It basically feels like taking a type A perfectionist and telling them to go ahead and be sloppy and careless. And sometimes I have to remember that, right? Like as type A's, our B minus work is like most people's A's. And you don't have to have every system, operation, treatment, outcome, marketing message, image, email, or product be a home run 1000% of the time. A slip up here and there won't bring your A plus to a C. It will bring your A plus to an A. But more importantly, it will provide incredible intel that you didn't have before a mistake was made. Think about something you did wrong in your life, and then after the fact, you said to yourself, well, I'm never doing that again. That is learning through experience. There is no textbook, YouTube video, or podcast that can catapult your growth faster than an experienced failure. Failure is positive, leader. It's like touching the hot stove. You're like, note to self, not trying that again. When you increase your tolerance for failure on behalf of your employees, you create an environment where they get to have that learned experience. There's nothing that will provide them the information and redirect that they need in your business more than a moment of learning. Letting go of control may stimulate more failures, but also more lessons and learned growth. Okay, leader, I'd like to wrap up today's podcast by reminding you that you do not have to lower your standards or threshold for excellence to begin stepping away from the day-to-day in your business. Remember that at the end of the day, your job isn't to control anyone, but to instead influence them. And the truth is, control is an illusion. You can't control anyone, even the people that report to you. We also can't control forces of chaos that are part of a running business. Sudden changes in environment, upticks in competition, unforeseen major political shifts, war, radical changes in weather, rapid inflation, increase in cost of supplies and raw materials, a pandemic, right? All we can do is lean in and trust. Trust ourselves to lead a mission-driven team. Trust our people to execute at a high level, and trust your systems enough that they can create predictable outcomes for you. The paradox of control is that when you begin to let go, this encourages people around you to thrive because they will feel empowered to show up and to take initiative. They will feel valued and continually be rewarded for excellence. And on the flip side, excessive control, it ultimately diminishes motivation, creativity, and effectiveness at all levels. And it keeps you stuck in that hamster wheel we talked about before. So leader, take this as your challenge on one project, task, or activity today. Let go of control. Loosen up the reins. Test yourself. Do you have a mission-led team? Do you have appropriate systems in place to lead them? Are you an aspiring and inspiring leader, or are you a control freak? The good news is that there's always room for improvement and polishing. You've got this. And finally, a quick heads up about that upcoming masterclass that I mentioned, Mission, Vision, and Values Masterclass. That is coming up on February 1st at 4 p.m. Pacific time. You can register at klcconsultants.com/masterclass. How serious are you about getting out of the rat race and building a deeply satisfying, lucrative, freedom-based business? In 90 minutes, let's test this, right? I'm going to show you the steps to re-energizing your business and empowering visionary leaders within your team through the design of your mission, vision, and values. To let go of control, leader, and cultivate an ecosystem of internal and external ambassadors who rally behind your mission, empower, support, and uplift you rather than just be a drain on your energetic well-being. And there's a special offer for Fierce Factor podcast listeners to access this training for free. So be sure to head to the link and check it out. Per usual, we will be limiting attendance so we can make this a high touch and interactive experience. So be sure to sign up sooner than later. Again, the registration can be accessed at klcconsultants.com/masterclass. Okay, Goddess, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope this gives you some things to think about and steps to take to loosening the grip of control that has you stuck and exhausted. I hope to see you in our February 1st masterclass, and I will chat with you again next Monday morning. Wait, before you go, if you're vibing with this conversation and want to join me on my mission to help 1,000 inspiring and intentional women cross the next $1 million milestone in their business this year, or maybe you want to become one of them, head over to Facebook and join our free community, the Fierce Factor Society. Over there, we are taking this conversation to an elevated level. Get access to resource guides, podcast supplements, and guideposts, direct communication with me and my expert team, and of course, a society of fierce women making big moves and disrupting the status quo in aesthetics and wellness. You can link directly through the show notes or head to Facebook and search up the Fierce Factor Society. See you there, Goddess.